Hey guys, and welcome to season 4 of the Yes People podcast. I'm your host, Savia Rocks, and in this season, we get to remember and reminisce back in time with some of our guests like...
Hey, we are Entity,
and you're listening to
the Us People podcast
with Savia Rocks.
Peace, my name is Oni. I'm a producer-engineer from Queens, New York.
Hi, my name is James Green. I'm a TV presenter, sports reporter and journalist.
Hi, this is Joy Langley and I'm the author of Navigating Stress.
Hey, this is Travis Glossop. I am a creative radio producer for Kiss FM and you're listening to the Us People podcast with Savia Rocks.
We highlight the strengths of our cultures, talking about diversity and inclusion and speaking out loud and proud about who we are.
I was never that good. I was determined. I had a love for the sport and that always fueled me.
At 49, I was seven years post-divorce after 22 years and 3 kids of a marriage. And so I knew that I needed to figure out what was happening for me and why was this such a severe sort of crack in my identity and how I showed up in the world.
It's great. I'm glad because I'll be honest, I didn't really work that hard at uni, so it was good to leave uni and really get on it, really because I also, as a person, I think I value productivity. A lot of people live to work. I think I am one of the work to live guys, but because my work is amazing, that's all right with me. So as a person, I go to bed happy when I've had a productive day.
We've also saved the best till last by honouring another artist and showcasing their talent as our new theme song with none other than your host, Savia Rocks, featuring in their song. So guys, enjoy, stay creative, and as always, please continue to be kind to one another. Let's go.
Hi, this is Jessi Lloyd. I'm the hat maker at Grade Collective, and you're listening to the Us People podcast with Savia Rocks.
Peace of mind. Gotta keep my energy and peace of mind. I protect my energy and peace of mind. Gotta keep my energy and peace of mind.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Yes People podcast. I'm your host, Savia Rocks, and today I am abundantly humbled and grateful to have Jessi on the show with us. She's a hat maker and a beautiful, proud mother. Jessi, I want to thank you so much for coming on the Yes People podcast. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Thank you for having me.
No, you are more than welcome. I always say in life it works both ways. So, Jessi, my first question for you is, could you tell us about yourself, where you grew up, but also how that influenced you to be the person who you are today?
Absolutely. So I am in Albuquerque, New Mexico. I basically grew up here. My parents were military here in the U.S., and so we bounced around a lot when I was real young, but landed in the desert very young. The desert definitely influences a lot of who I am today. I draw a lot of inspiration from the desert. I am blessed to live in a beautiful area, so I've got lots of mountains surrounding me. I don't know, I'm a desert kid. So,
I like it. I like this cool.
So it's definitely a great spot for me. My upbringing, I was always kind of a creative. So my parents definitely encouraged me to lean into my creativity from a very young age. Obviously, I'm a hat maker by trade, but I do a lot of fine art as well. So I paint and draw and dabble with clay. And so it's all very inspired by my surroundings.
I love that. I think your surroundings have a huge impact. And obviously your parents are a massive impact in our lives because they're our first people who we come into contact with who will either tell us yes to go for it or no to change. And it's a beautiful thing to be able to see that a lot of parents actually... It depends on the culture of our parents too. Some parents are quite strict and creativity, they don't actually see that as a job. They want you to get a proper job, as they say. I don't know the term what a proper job is, but they I don't know what that means, but I find creativity beautiful, and anyone who goes forth and opens up their heart to it, I commend them, because we need role models and people who are activists in what they do, because without them showing us the way, how would we be able to lean towards our creative side in life? So that's definitely something I always commend anybody who's creative who comes on the show to talk about that. Jessi, my next question for you is, could you define who you are as a person, but also who you see when you look in the mirror? But on the flip side of that question, has there ever been a time in your life where you have looked in the mirror and not recognized the person staring back at you? How did you manage to go from a transition of not being the person that you necessarily want to be, but knowing in your heart that you could find a positivity within yourself to change?
Oh, definitely. I feel like that has happened many times in my life.
Oh, yeah.
But the most recent I would have to say was definitely when my husband passed away in 2020. Me and him were married for 10 years and together for 12. We have 4 beautiful children.
Hey.
And, you build this life. He was the first person I ever made a hat for. And so my entire business is inspired by him, and he's still very much the core of my business. But shifting from wife to caregiver, because he had brain cancer, and I became his hospice nurse pretty much, to widow in such a short amount of time. Definitely, I had this huge loss of self. I would look in the mirror and I didn't recognize myself. I didn't know who I was. I lost all, I probably, any kind of confidence that I had in myself as a mother. I just felt like I couldn't do anything right, which was, logically looking back, that is not the case at all. But having that foundational loss definitely just pulled everything out from under my feet and made me question all of my abilities. But it took, a lot of self-reflecting, a lot of time. I took an entire year off from my craft and started just really focusing on healing me and my children. I was definitely doing a lot of other creative things outside of hat making at the time, to just help me tap back into that side of myself where I could find that confidence in my abilities and build that in my children as well. But yeah, it rocked me, and it still does. I still have days where it's like, oh gosh, what am I doing? Like, how am I raising this family by myself? How am I running this business? And I, people in my life, they kind of giggle at me now because I'll be like, how am I going to do it? And they're like, you are doing it though.
Exactly.
So it's, it definitely still happens, but yeah, you just have to kind of lean into what's healing for you in that time, and what's going to help push you forward, to get back to realizing like, oh yeah, like I'm a badass. I can do
Hey, I say that to everyone all the time. You are a badass. It's cool to be a badass. There's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with owning the title that you are a badass. There's nothing wrong with being humble. There's nothing wrong with having confidence in yourself. There's nothing wrong with loving who you are as a person, because everyone else will see that shine through you.
Yes.
And it will, listen, we all have different color auras, all of us. And every day it changes, and every day we give that energy to people who we meet, who we bump into. It's just a beautiful thing to be able to have. And I'm telling you, honestly, badass is just one of the things that you are. Yeah.
Thank you.
You've got a whole heap more. And I understand how it is, because every time I hear a story from someone and they tell me about their life and what's going on, I think the credit that they owe to themselves is to understand that we all have good days, we all have bad days, but if within the bad days we find the positive, we can turn it around and make it a good day regardless. So I always say that to everyone about carrying it on. You know,
Absolutely.
so just keep carrying it on. Keep carrying it on. So let's talk about your creativity when it comes to hats, because hats, you have to have such a, first of all, a creative mind. Number two, it's about the detail.
Yes.
And I've watched your stuff, and it's very much in the detail, but also more than anything else, it's about the love of the craft. I would love for you to be able to break down each one of those for me, your love, your craft, and your creativity within what you do.
Yeah, I would love to do that. So hat making, I'm completely self-taught. So I learned through trial and error. So I got to make a good amount of not great hats in the beginning, which I know any creative in any craft will understand.
Yes.
You know, you've got to be bad at something to get good at it.
Yes, that's true.
And for me, hat making is extremely therapeutic. It's taught me so much in slowing down and really just feeling your materials and not trying to force it to become something that it doesn't want to be.
Exactly. Yes.
I tell people all the time, I teach classes now. And so when I'm teaching others to work with the felts and to move through the process, I always tell them there is nothing too difficult about hat making. It's all just having the patience to just slow down and really work each step with intention. And again, not forcing it to become something it doesn't want to be. Like, it is an organic material. Sometimes we'll have something in mind and we want it to be this specific hat. And sometimes it just doesn't want to be that.
Yep, that's true. Yep.
So sometimes you just have to let it become what it's going to be. I primarily work in beaver fur felt.
Yes.
And for me, I picked that material for the longevity of it. I have always loved the world of fashion. I grew up, wanting to be a fashion designer. And like make avant-garde pieces and all this stuff. But as I got older, your eyes open to just kind of the destruction the fashion industry has as well, just with fast fashion and all of that, which is a whole other thing to dive into. Yep. But I knew that I wanted to make something of quality that was going to last someone a lifetime. Like, I want this to be a piece that was going to be passed down, because the first time someone brought me their great grandpa's hat and asked me to make it into a new hat for them, and I was able to turn it into something new that they can treasure for years as well, that was like, oh wow, like, this is what it is to have something substantial that is going to be in my family or to friends or whoever in your life that means something, that you can pass something down to them. And also having the whole business be so wrapped around my husband. Yeah. That was also very symbolic for me, that, I want to create things that are just going to last forever.
See, it's just a really random question. If your husband was standing next to you right now, what do you believe that he would say to you about your craft?
Oh, wow. Gosh, he was always my biggest supporter. Even in my deepest, darkest days of self-doubt, he would just look at me and he'd be like, why would you think that? Like, you're amazing. So I know that he would definitely be so proud, because he knew that I would get to this point when I didn't. And I think that's something that has guided me and really helped push me forward with my business, is knowing that he would just love everything that I'm doing. So yeah, I think that he would just tell me how proud he is of me.
Hey, that's good enough. That is totally good enough. One thing I definitely know people would like to know is, how do you know what to buy in terms of equipment and That's a big question because hat making, like I said, is very detailed and you need so many different types of tools. So could you break down what you would need maybe for a beginner, intermediate to a level where someone feels advanced?
Yes. So for me, that was actually one of the reasons that I started teaching, because being self-taught, and in the time that I started, things were a little more like gate kept. There wasn't a lot of people wanting to share information at the time.
Yeah.
So you'd reach out to people and then they'd give you a little tiny hint, and then it wouldn't really be much to go off of. So it took me about, 8 months to a year to find the right tools. And so for me, I would say if you're going to go with just bare minimum, like when I started with 3 hat blocks, which hat blocks are the forms that are going to give you your hat, their sizing. And so you can get all the standard hat sizes. And I started with 3 sizes that in my mind was like, okay, these might equate to like a small, medium, large.
Yeah.
And we'll just start from there. And it worked great. I would, as I sold hats, I would buy one more block and then another until I had a full collection.
Yeah.
So you absolutely need your hat blocks. Even if you're just going to start with just making them for yourself or for a friend, you can just start with that one size and that's fine. You need a hat steamer. There's a lot of different options out there, but you can find hat steamers really easily online. Just something with a big water reservoir, because you don't want to have to refill and refill and refill. It just takes you forever. Like a really good iron. And then after that, you can really do it all without any of the other tools.
Oh, wow.
So hat making is very much a craft that you can throw a ton of money into, and you can buy all the things and you're going to have a beautiful workshop, but you don't necessarily need everything. One more tool that I would say is an absolute necessity is a measuring tape and a tool called a rounding jack. And that's what helps you cut your brim. Because the first 2 years I was making hats, I did not have one of those. And I was like using a ruler and a piece of chalk and making a dot every inch and then hand cutting and sanding by hand to get a nice round brim. And it was awful. So if you're wanting to get into hat making, just get a rounding jack.
See, guys, I learned something today. I didn't even know what a rounding jack was. But it's nice. It's nice to be educated by all of this. So is the hat market, is it a hard market to get into?
It is. So I know a lot of people who have recently just become like hat shapers and hat decorators, which is great. But if you are getting into like custom, fully handcrafted hats where you are making the hats from scratch, it's definitely a smaller market than just people who are wanting like a fun decorated hat. And it's mostly just because of the price points of all the materials. Over the past couple years since COVID really kind of hit small hat makers really hard. Like our felt supply chain was just devastated. And so where we used to be able to order a felt and get it in a week, there was a time where I was waiting 8 to 10 months for felts.
Whoa.
Yeah. So it's slowly getting better, but for the past 3 years, it's just been really hard to get materials, and all of the prices have more than doubled.
Yes, that's true.
And I know that's for pretty much everything in the world. But especially for felts. So and there are definitely more hat makers now than when I started. And so it's becoming a little more competitive, but I don't see that as a bad thing. Like I love that there's more hat makers in the world now. Like I think it's great.
Oh, that's so cool. So what would you say is your favorite hat that you have ever made?
So my favorite hat is it was the third hat I ever made. So they were all for my husband. I made it. The first one was awful, just terrible. And then the second one it was okay. And then the third one, I felt like man, I nailed that.
This is the one. Yeah.
And so it became his kind of daily wear. And now I wear it all the time. So it's too big on me. And I just put some padding inside and I wear it as my hat
to the
now.
Side. Yeah, just lean it to the side.
Yeah, it's a style. I just tell people I meant to do it that way.
Yeah, just lean it to, it's totally fine. So how do you know what styles suit each hat? So I know that you guys, you can't see it, but Jessi's got loads of beautiful hats behind her as well. And I just want to try and understand, how do you know what style of hat suits which hat? Because ever since knowing that you were going to come on the show, and I've always been like this, I love doing so much research on things, and when I find out a certain guest is going to come on the show, I will dive right into research. I
love it.
It's like me being your hat assistant and you don't know. So I would love to know, what would you say is not necessarily the criteria, but how do you know when the hat is being made the correct way, if that's the right way of saying it?
So there's a few different things you can tell from like a properly made hat. For me, when I'm teaching people, I tell them any rules you think you have, just kind of like toss them out the window.
Yeah.
Because as an artist, I kind of tend away from the super specific, like this is exactly how things are supposed to be. But there are definitely things that you still have to have correct in a hat. So like and so this part is kind of personal preference too, but so there are definitely people who want an outrageous hat, who want it to be really, really tall or really, really oversized. But if you're going for what someone would say, like if you're well hatted, they tend to say like you don't want your crown, the top of your hat, to be larger than your face.
Okay. But
obviously,
sense.
There are plenty of people out there that love that. They actually want it to be.
That's
so that's why I usually tell people, I'm like, you know what, like, sure, that's kind of a rule, but you don't have to follow the rules.
Yeah.
And for me, like on my personal hats, it's kind of a rule for myself is I don't wear hats with a brim bigger than 3.5 inches because I'm a klutz and I run into things and I run into people. And so for me, like I love my clients who want a big 5-inch brim, but I am not graceful enough to wear a 5-inch brim. So you'll find rules for yourself in the hatting world.
Jessi, how do you make a hat for someone like me who's got big hair?
Oh, yeah. So I actually have quite a few customers that we're working with a lot of hair. And so when I measure you, I have a tool called a conformature, and it actually will take the shape of your head and it'll include all of your hair. That way, when I'm making your hat, I can take your head tracing and I'll cut that out of wood and then I'll put that inside of your hat. And so that's going to make it to fit everything. That way, all of my customers who have a lot of hair will usually make them, some will have multiple hats made where it's like, okay, this is for when I'm just letting my hair free. I'm going to rock it like natural. I need a hat that's going to fit over it all. But then I also want a hat that's going to fit when I have my hair braided or when I have it shorter. And so we can custom fit hats with head measuring so that you can fit all the different hairstyles.
See, I like that because my hair is massive, as all the guys know. My hair is huge. So
which I love. You would look beautiful under a hat.
I'm coming to you. Trust me.
Yes.
I'm coming. And it won't be one hat. It'll be like 5, one for every day. On a weekend, I might have just have a couple of days off. But 5 hats was a good start for me because I'm a big hat fan.
Yeah, absolutely. 5 sounds great. You know, I'll jump on a flight to London.
Do you know what? I don't mind. I really don't mind. You know, I'll set you up a studio over here.
Yes, let's do it.
Let's do it. No, that's fine with me. So, what is the best advice, Jessi, you have ever received in your life that has helped you throughout your life?
Oh, wow. The best advice, it would probably be just not to care what others think of you.
That's so true.
Yes. And to just go for it. Like, it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks, whether that's in your craft or in your personal life, that at the end of the day, if it makes you happy and you're not hurting anybody, just do it. Like, it's other people's opinions on the thing or you is irrelevant. Do what's going to make you happy.
I like that. My next question that actually leads to that question is, what would you do differently in your life if nobody was judging you? People are always judging us based upon how we look, what we do for a living, how we talk, the way we say things towards each other. There's always some form of judgment. But if there was no judgment in the world, what would you consider to do different or be different in the world?
Yes. Oh, wow. It's so funny because I can pick the exact moment in my life that I would go back and change, because I tell my kids about this all the time. When I was in middle school, so I was maybe 12 years old, is when I kind of really got into sewing. I love to sew. And I was always artsy, the kind of crafty kid at school. And when I got into sewing, I was very excited.
Oh, I like that.
And so I'm talking about it, and I'm as passionate as a little 12-year-old can be. And there were plenty of people that were just as excited. But there was one person who just chimed in and said, "Oh, you sew? Are you a grandma?" And I don't know what about it, just the look she gave me and the tone of voice, and it just drowned out everything else, all the positive things.
That's always the case.
That everyone else was saying, and the one negative voice made me pull back and say, "Oh, I can't tell people I sew. Like, people are going to think that I'm uncool. People are going to think that I'm a loser. I'm a little grandma because I sew." And in reality, I could have just blossomed so much sooner in my life as a seamstress. And it took me, like, I would sew at home, but I would never show anyone any of my projects. I would never talk about it in public. And it wasn't until I was 20 years old that I started finally sharing my work again. And that was the best thing. And it's something that I always go back to, and I tell my kids about it. I'm like, don't let the small negative people define what you want to do, because it doesn't matter what they think. If it brings you joy, do it. Go for it. So
exactly. I agree. No, I agree with that. And I understand where you're coming from. A lot of the time, I always find that people say negativity towards you because that's really how they're feeling about themselves, because they haven't found what they love doing in their life. So what they will do, they will project their negativity on you so that you walk away feeling like you've done something wrong because you found what you love doing in your life.
Yes.
So I've definitely learned that one. So that is so true. Talk to me about your values, living your dream life, but also empowering yourself as a woman, number one, but in the world, just understanding that who you are is beautiful for yourself and your family.
Yes. Oh, gosh. So I think recently, since the past couple of years since my husband passed, it really forced me to step back and really assess my life and see, like, what do I care about? What do I want to pursue? Yeah, what are my real core values and things that I want to see in myself and I want to pursue in the world and that I want to instill in my children. And I found myself kind of finding that I really feel deep inside of me that my purpose in life is to empower and encourage other people in their creativity. And it's something that I just continually go towards now in life, that I want everything that I do to let other people know that they can heal, they can grow, and in a creative way, whether that's, just speaking more kindly to yourself, or writing, or singing, or dancing, and all of these things that I'm like, I'm not good at these things, but I do them because because they fill my soul with like happiness. And
I like that. Yeah.
so those are definitely like my core values in life now is to just spread kindness. I tell my kids all the time that like the biggest compliment I could ever get about them is that they're kind. You know, like people can tell you you're brilliant, you're beautiful, but to have someone really stop and say, "Oh, wow, you are so kind." That's the greatest thing as a mother to hear, because we need that in our world. Everyone just needs a little more kindness in their life.
That's true. That is so true. If I was to turn around and say to you, if there is one song that is the soundtrack of your life, what song would you choose, and why would you choose that particular song? I like the face. Your face is like, oh.
I know, like I feel like there's so many. It's hard to choose just one. Let's see. Let me think of one that I've been listening to the most recently. I've been listening to, I feel like this past couple of weeks, I've been listening to a lot of Petite Biscuit. I don't know if you know.
Oh, yeah.
I just feel like the melodies and just the music without a ton of lyrics is actually very like soothing to me.
It is.
But also the song Home by, oh gosh, I'm completely spacing their name. Oh wow, yeah, I can't think of that.
So
my mind is blank.
I bet you when you come off, you'll think of it, and then you'll message me, and then you'll say, "Savia, it's this," and I'll be like,
and you're like, "Oh yeah,
that's cool. Don't worry." No, the reason why I always ask everyone is because we make a Us People podcast playlist, and every time someone says a song like yourself, when your podcast is out, we'll pull it on the season of when you came out with the song that you chose. So you'll always be remembered because that's your song.
I love it. I'll definitely message you.
When you remember, just message, because everyone's going to want to know, because I'm sure they're going to ask. Everyone's going to want to know. So if you could choose one quote that represented you as a person, what quote would you choose, and why would you choose that particular quote?
Oh, wow. Let's see. One quote. There's one, and I might just be misquoting this, so don't take it word for word, that I just recently read, and it's something that I've heard multiple times throughout my life. And this particular time, I read it through Rick Rubin's book, and it is that we are all creative beings in a creative universe. And I think it was that, like, listen to the nudges that show you that the universe wants you to succeed.
Yeah, that's so true.
And so I'm like, I probably just butchered that line, but
no, I understand. No, but I understand it. It's. I feel like it's basically talking about manifestation.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
and understanding the happiness. If you think. It starts from within yourself. So if you find a manifestation of positivity within yourself and you implement that into your daily life, happiness will follow. That's what I get from it.
Yes, absolutely.
That's what I get from it. So I hope that makes sense. I hope I didn't butcher that. I hope I didn't butcher the answer back.
No, I think, you know what? We're doing great.
We're doing great. Okay, cool. All right, this is awesome. So one of the most important questions I ask people is, how important is diversity to you? But also, how do you feel that you bring the importance to diversity in the world of who you are as a being and what you do?
Oh, diversity is, I think, one of the most important things in all aspects of life, not just as my craft, but as people in general, our entire world. This is another thing that I talk to my kids about all the time is, how boring would it be if we were all the same? And
I said that just yesterday.
Yeah, it's like this diversity is what gives life that spice, that energy, that what makes it beautiful is that we're all so different, and you get to experience so many different things and cultures. And that rings true in the hat making world as well. Is there's so many styles, there's so many different ways to make it depending on your culture, depending on what part of the world you're in. And all of it's so beautiful. And we all get to kind of take little bits from everything and to create what we do. And so I think without diversity, I don't even want to imagine a world without diversity.
That's true, actually. That is so true. Because I think we all build the world that we're in, even though all of us have history. And within our history, there are good and there is bad.
Yes.
But when we come together, and one thing I must say, that when there's a catastrophe or a natural disaster, that's one of the most beautiful things where I see people come together to help each other.
Yes.
That's the one time I can actually say that your race or your culture doesn't matter. It's just about naturally just helping each other. And I wish there was more of that, and I hope to see more of that, if that makes any sense. But
yes,
I hope to see more of that in the world. My next one for you is, can you define what success means to you? Because everyone has a different definition of what success means to them. It could be waking up in the morning, it could be going to work, it could be driving your driving test, it could be absolutely anything that means something to you. But what does success mean to you as a person?
Yes. Oh, wow. So this is something that I've actually just reevaluated this past year in my life, and had a really wonderful trip away from the city to spend some time just like out in the forest and reconnecting with myself, and really focusing on, what do I want in this life, and like, what does success mean to me? Because I used to think that it was money and, having nice things and the big house and, all the things that we're conditioned to think of when we think of success. And I think since my husband passed away, it's definitely put everything in perspective. And even just more recently into this year of the direction my business has been going, I have really tried to recenter and define it in a way that makes sense for me and my family. And to me, that is, are we all happy? Like when we sit down together as a family, am I spending enough time with my kids? Because for me now, it's like, okay, like we live comfortably, but do I want to push the business in a way where I'm making more money? Or do I want to push the business in a way where I have time? Because that's something that I have realized, especially with losing my husband, that our time is so limited. And that's the most important thing to me. And so for me, it's like, am I spending enough time with my children? Am I spending enough time doing the things that bring me joy, the things that light me up? So like success to me is just, are you happy? Are you doing the things that fulfill you in an emotional way? And are my children happy? Are they getting the experiences in life that are going to make them compassionate and kind people who are going to in turn make other people want to be compassionate and kind?
See, that's such a nice way to look at life. When was the last time you felt totally at peace with yourself?
Actually, it wasn't that long ago.
Oh, that's cool. That's so nice. No, it is nice.
Yeah, it's just, I would say last month, actually, I took a trip with my kids, and it was one of those moments where I was so at peace and just felt like everything is right in the world. Like there isn't anything negative happening that could make me feel anything but joy in this moment. And just, it was wonderful.
See, I love that. So I've only got 2 more questions for you, Jessi, but my second to last question is, after you feel that you have done all you could in the world to be the person who you wanted to be, what would you like your legacy to be?
I think I would like my legacy to be just people remembering me as someone who put others before herself.
I like that. It's nice and simple, but it has a great impact on the world. It has an absolute great impact on the world. So before I humbly have the chance to say thank you to you, I would love for you to be able to share where everyone can find you on all your social media platforms or anywhere that you would like to share with us.
Yes, so I, on all of the platforms, I am at Grey Collective Hats, Grey. And then also my website is greycollectivehats.com. And that's where you can find all the info if you want to come take classes with me and all of that. So...
Jessi, I want to thank you so much for taking your time to come on the podcast today. You have been humble, you have been kind, you have been, your gratitude is among one of the best I've ever come across. So I want to say, honestly, I want to say humbly thank you for everything you're doing, but more than anything to show that no matter what goes on in your life, you still continue to strive to be the beautiful person that you are and show people that anything is possible when you set your heart and your mind to it. So thank you so much.
Thank you. I really appreciate you having me on.
No, you're welcome. And guys, I want to thank you so much for listening to the Us People podcast. And please remember, you can subscribe and leave us a review on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, and any other platform that you prefer listening to. Also, please follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Guys, thank you so much for listening. Stay happy, stay positive, and as always, please continue to be kind to one another.
I need a solution. Peace of mind, peace of mind. Gotta keep my energy and peace of mind. I protect my energy and peace of mind. Gotta keep my energy and peace of mind. Peace of mind, peace of mind. Gotta keep my energy and peace of mind. I protect my energy and peace of mind. Gotta keep my energy and peace of mind. Peace of mind, peace of mind. Gotta keep my energy and peace of mind. I protect my energy and peace of mind. Gotta keep my energy and peace of mind. Peace of mind, peace of mind.
People say that having a peace of mind is trying to find a consistency of calmness within ourselves, to crave for a clarity that drives us through our emotional journey of life, to never let a person's judgment manifest into a fear inside of us, learning to believe in our ability to shine through the darkest moments and tunnels when we cannot see the light. Patience being our light for forgiveness and strength, to believe in our destiny. If you want real peace of mind, one needs to stop fighting their inner thoughts and embrace them with love, because love is the most amazing and beautiful strength that we have to conquer our peace of mind. Make your thoughts impact a nation by keeping them true and honest, especially to yourself. But make your peace of mind protect you when you don't have strength to embrace anything else. Find your peace of mind by listening to your heart.
The best advice, it would probably be just not to care what others think of you. Yes, it is just go for it. Like, it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks, whether that's in your craft or in your personal life, that at the end of the day, if it makes you happy and you're not hurting anybody, just do it. Like, it's other people's opinions on the thing or you is irrelevant. Do what's going to make you happy.
Peace of mind. Gotta keep my energy and peace of mind. I protect my energy and peace of mind. Gotta keep my energy and peace of mind. Peace of mind, peace of mind.